Another big night of European football. Fati commits to Barcelona, but is Dembélé out? Newcastle begin their hunt for a new manager and a transfer roundup, all coming up on today's OneFootball Daily News. As I'm your host, Angelina Kelly, let's get into it. So last night, and there were some more great games in Europe, and there were some very big wins. First off, we'll start with Manchester United. They found themselves 2-0 down to Atalanta at half-time, but luckily the team managed to completely transform the game in the second half and win it 3-2, saving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer from even more backlash and potentially saving his job. And of course, who scored the winning goal? None other than Cristiano Ronaldo in the 81st minute. There was also a brilliant performance from Marcus Rashford, who is fresh back from injury. And once again, we've seen Ronaldo to the rescue for Manchester United. And although they do now sit at the top of their Champions League group, is this perhaps papering over the cracks of this team? Meanwhile, for Chelsea, it was a pretty easy night for them as they got a 4-0 win over Malmo, but they will be sweating over the fitness of two key players. So on the score sheet, Jorginho managed to score himself 2 penalties. There was a goal from Andreas Christensen as well, but like I say, there were 2 big injuries for Romelu Lukaku and Timo Werner. This will be a big blow for the club, and the only positive, I guess you could take from it, is that we saw Callum Hudson-Odoi and Kai Havertz feature, and they linked up really well to score Havertz's goal. And for Chelsea, it was just another night at the office, really. They managed to completely and utterly overpower Malmo, but will this win come at a cost, as their manager Thomas Tuchel has said that both players could be out for some games. And meanwhile, sitting pretty at the top of their group thanks to a 1-0 win last night was Juventus, who managed to keep their 100% record in the Champions League so far this season, and it was thanks to a late goal from Dejan Kulusevski. And what this means for Juventus now is that in group stages they have got the most away consecutive wins, and it was their 150th victory in the Champions League or European Cup. And meanwhile, for Bayern Munich, they celebrated a 4-0 thrashing of Benfica, and although they didn't actually start scoring until the 70th minute, it was definitely worth the wait for Bayern fans. For Benfica, I'm sure they will be feeling quite frustrated, but yeah, another great performance from Bayern Munich, and of course Robert Lewandowski, who managed to get himself on the score sheet. He has now scored 200 goals since the 2017-18 season in 194 appearances. Absolutely incredible. Surely Lewandowski has got to be winning the Ballon d'Or. And speaking of that, we of course did a tier list looking at some of the players that are nominated and what we think their chances are, and the link is right here. And elsewhere in the Europa League, we saw Leicester City get a 4-3 victory. Although they were down 2-0, it was all thanks to Patson Daka, who managed to score 4 times for the Foxes. He managed to get himself a 9-minute hat-trick and broke quite a few records. He is now the first Leicester player to score a hat-trick in European competition, and the first Zambian to do so for any club in a major European competition excluding qualifiers. He also became the top scorer in the Europa League and has proved to be such a vital talent for Leicester this season. Next up, and Barcelona fans have got even more to celebrate. Not only did they win their Champions League game, but they have another contract extension in Ansu Fati. He became the second teenager in the last week or so to commit his future to the club, as of course Pedri has already signed an extension. And this also makes him the second teenager at the club to agree to a €1 billion release clause. So Fati's new deal will run until 2027, and considering he's been at the club since he was about 10 years old, you can definitely understand why he has decided to commit to the club, despite some of the issues that they've had over the last year, because at the end of the day, Barcelona is still a massive club, and this just shows their commitment to rebuilding this team around their young stars. Now, despite some people thinking that maybe he would only agree to a contract of a year or two so he could keep his options open, or that perhaps he would depart completely from Barcelona, according to some reports, his loyalty was never in question, considering this club have given him so much. This is a team that made him the second youngest Barca player when he made his debut for the club at age 16 years and 298 days. He's the club's youngest scorer in La Liga, their youngest Champions League debutant, and he also has inherited the number 10 Lionel Messi shirt. I don't think he would have taken that shirt if he didn't want to commit to the club. At the end of the day, he is one of their shining stars now, and alongside Pedri is definitely the poster boy for the future of Barcelona. However, one player's future that is in doubt is Ousmane Dembélé. We've spoken about it before on the Daily News, but according to Goal, he is now interested in a move to Newcastle United. So according to the reports, Dembélé hasn't made much headway with Barcelona regarding agreeing a new contract, as his current one does expire in the summer of 2022, and he would reportedly be open to a move to St James's Park. For Barcelona, they would still like to keep the player. They have offered him a contract of maybe a year or 2 or 3, but his agent has reportedly caused a little bit of friction with the club, as as he has allegedly already spoken to other clubs across Europe, including Newcastle United, about potentially signing the player. So allegedly, these discussions with the Premier League side has resulted in talks of a 5-year deal that would be 15 million euros a year and quite a hefty 15 million euro signing on bonus. For Dembélé, if he's not happy at Barcelona, then maybe a fresh start could be a good idea. However, as I've previously said, Barcelona are still a massive club, and although they're struggling at the moment, you could argue, and they're maybe not in contention for trophies like the Champions League, they will be once again. And the thing is for Dembélé is, as much as a move to Newcastle would be great money-wise, there's no guarantees that they are going to be winning silverware. Just because they've got a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean success, and it would be perhaps a little bit of a gamble, not only for his career, but also his career with the national team. And of course, yesterday news did break that Steve Bruce has been sacked from his position at Newcastle United. To be honest, I feel like the media, the fans, Bruce himself did see this one coming after this huge takeover that they have had. Now, Bruce was allowed to coach his 1,000th game as a manager for Newcastle United, which resulted in a 3-2 loss against Spurs. And to be honest, I feel like the writing was on the wall from that. It was quite sad actually to see the quotes from Bruce, who has said that it's been really difficult in this position, as of course he feels like he has had a lot of people expecting him to fail. There's been a lot of pressure on him, and it has put a strain on him as a person and his family. And it was actually quite nice to see the comments from Alan Saint-Maximin about the coach. But of course, Steve Bruce is out, so who will be coming in? Sky Sports News understands that former Roma boss Paulo Fonseca, who was of course a candidate for the Tottenham Hotspur job, could be one of the front runners for the position. Reportedly, the Newcastle bosses did speak to him in the summer, and now they have had fresh conversations. One manager that has ruled himself out is the current Roma manager Jose Mourinho, who has said that he is committed to the club. So assistant coach Graham Jones will be at the helm for now, but there are quite a few options when it comes to this position. Of course, the likes of Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard have been linked with the position. There's Eddie Howe, who has been without a job since he departed from Bournemouth in 2020. There is also former Dortmund boss Lucien Favre, and actually Belgium's manager Roberto Martinez. However, Fonseca is seemingly the main candidate that they are focusing on, and if he does end up taking the job at Newcastle, then fans can expect some entertaining and attacking football. And this, according to reports from Sky Sports News, is one of the reasons why the Spurs job didn't work out, as reportedly the powers that be wanted more defensive football, but Fonseca is really focused on attacking-minded football, and this is something that he has been implementing since he became a coach really in the early 2000s. With the 48-year-old being linked with the Spurs job, clearly he is intrigued by life in the Premier League, and it would definitely be a very big and exciting task to be the manager at Newcastle, especially when you consider all the big names that are being linked to joining the club as players. And it will be very interesting to see if it is Fonseca that ends up at the helm, or if one of the other candidates may manage to get the job. And now we have a transfer roundup. This is where I take a look at some of the other news and transfers going on in the footballing world. And first up, Leicester City's Youri Tielemans has reportedly turned down any contract extensions at Leicester City, which has put the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid, Manchester United, etc. on high alert. Meanwhile, at Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel has admitted that there have been talks at the club about potentially signing Erling Haaland. Elsewhere, and FIFA President Gianni Infantino has hinted at the fact that he could step away from the divisive plan of having the World Cup every 2 years, and has not committed to a vote on the situation being held at a summit meeting in December. And finally, since Gianluigi Donnarumma has only actually made 5 appearances for PSG so far this season, his agent Mino Raiola is not a happy bunny, and he reportedly cannot understand why PSG signed the player for him to play second fiddle to Keylor Navas. And if this is how things are going to continue, he will look to move his player on in the summer, with the likes of Barcelona and Juventus interested. So that's it for today's OneFootball Daily News. As always, check out all the other content that we've got here, and until next time, I will see you all later.